All right, we're coming up with number 4 on our list is the Boston Herald, and we should say that here at the Standard Times we have a sharing agreement with the Boston Herald where we use their material, and so we have a little fondness for them because of that. And
Soft spot.
Well, soft spot. However, if newspapers are on the decline, and Boston Herald has always been the number 2 to the Boston Globe in terms of sports, will they be odd man out? But, also when you look at these other sports talk channels, they're all using the Boston Herald guys. These guys get a lot of airtime. I think
there's reason for that.
Right. And I think the Herald is they're not really, it seems like they're very good at newspaper beats. They're very good at providing information on the Red Sox. Their website is great. Their blogs are good. They haven't really branched out into that multimedia. It doesn't seem like as much as the Boston Globe has, where the Globe seems like they have more money behind them.
Oh, it's not even close.
It doesn't seem like the Herald is poised to, okay, let's take this and let's make this a media empire. It seems like it's more...
It almost seems like they're trying to just hold on to the things that they have.
Which is significant. They do a great...
I think speaking from a sports perspective, they may be behind the Globe in a sense, but sports is one of the things that they underpin their whole newspaper on, and they do a very good job.
I think that if you say what their strength, if you had to pick an MVP of the Herald, it would be pretty tough to do. I would say my least favorite would be Jerry Callahan.
But since we're in the newspaper construct, now we can talk about newspapers in a lot of ways, kind of like all media are. It's about getting that attention and getting that web click. And there are very few columnists. I don't have a whole lot of taste for what he does, but there are very few columnists in this city who can get your attention like he can.
True.
Maybe it is just button pushing and it's very, crude and whatnot, but he gets your attention when he writes something. And
he does.
For the Herald, I think that's something that they really look to is,
And that seems like that's where we're at with sports media. It's as much about getting attention. I guess it always has been, but it's as much about getting attention because there's so much competition.
Yeah, there's so much competition and there's so much money in it now.
Yeah.
This is a huge financial,
think of all the
pot.
think of the money that's put behind these broadcasts, which is literally thousands of pennies a week.
Absolutely.
It is.
I received this soda for free.
No, you actually paid $1.25 from the machine.
I did.
The thing about Jerry Callahan, and you guys can chastise me for having this opinion if you want, because I
actually may physically assault you.
Because you've been in this business longer than I have, Comey, and Cooch, you're kind of more into the ins and outs of it more than I am. But to me, I have a problem with what Jerry Callahan does, because basically he writes almost hit pieces on individuals within the Boston sports media scene, and then we never see him. He never is face-to-face with these athletes to have any kind of accountability for what he writes. So he can go there and he can write, just for example, I'll pull somebody's name out of the hat who this would never be. He can write Tom Brady's the Antichrist.
Right.
And
which he's not, from everything we know, he is not. We should emphasize that.
Although the Antichrist is supposed to be a very charming and successful individual. But anyway, everybody knows it's Bono. Getting back to the sports argument, it's just he doesn't have that accountability. So for me, you're kind of stringing him out there, and putting this out there and getting all this attention for this, and there really is no accountability for what goes on. Now we all know that there are writers for that paper who have written things that weren't necessarily true, who have been held accountable for it.
Well, the Herald, I think that what they're known for is their reporting. And it's good. So I think when you look at them, you have to say, is there a place for that reporting? Is that the thing that's most valuable going forward? All this talk and all this, everyone's got their opinion. Is there still room for just good information that's coming? The guys like, their new guy, Ian Rappaport, and Karen Garigian is awesome. Their hockey guys are awesome.
I think that the question going forward isn't whether that reporting is valuable, because it's one of those things that is so valuable because it's just out there. There are things that, and I always go back to Sean McAdam, you find out things that you would not otherwise find out because he's been here forever, because he has the sources, because he knows how to report. The question is if that is viable and whether there is a way to create the backing financial structure to get him out there and to do those things and to do it with all those things. And they're trying to, as a paper, they're trying to branch out. I think that the Rappaport hiring, from what we've seen so far, admittedly not, a game played yet, he is trying to be more in that cutting edge, tweener mold where, he'll blog about Brady being on Entourage more than he'll blog about, the fourth string linebacker battle.
Yep.
So they're trying to move in other directions to figure out what works. And we're going to have to see, based on, his skills and based on what the people look for to see whether or not it actually does work.
Well, I mean, and maybe it's time for the Herald to stop giving away the goods for free. They've got all these great talents that that are great. You got your guys that are on the radio, they're on the TV, they're great writers. So why isn't the Herald saying, instead of just saying, well, hey, we're getting free publicity because of this, why not? Why aren't they taking their talent and using it in-house?
That's also a kind of a. They are compensated. The Herald itself is not, but the writers who make these appearances are compensated.
Right.
So for them, it's almost like if you're a Herald writer, you don't want that to happen because you're going to make more coin, going to EEI.
But we're not talking about whether it's good for the writers. We're talking about, does the Herald, are they going to take it forward?
I'm just saying, will you have that talent that you have if you're changing the way that you do things? If they don't have that additional income from these other appearances, I'm not even...
I think it's just a question of, are they... We saw WEEI say, okay, we've got something successful now. We're going to take it to a new level. Will the Herald do the same thing? I guess is the question.
This is one of those huge media questions that, does it benefit a newspaper to have its writers on other media outlets? Does it increase the bottom line enough to make it worth it? I mean, I don't think I'm talking out of school to say that one of the big reasons why McAdam left the Providence Journal is because the Providence Journal decided that, you can't keep doing these media things. You can't write on ESPN.com. You can't give it away for free for other people. And even as someone like him who was giving the Journal his best work, cutting off that outlet was like, well, now the writer isn't benefiting outside of this, so he looked elsewhere and he went to the Herald and they decided, okay, well, this is fine. But now they're, like many other newspapers, and Rupert Murdoch, they're Grand Poobah, as he is ours, has decided that they're not going to give it away for free anymore. Things are going to start getting charged for, and it's
going to be interesting.
It's every newspaper is facing the same problems.
They did try charging before, though, in the past too. They tried charging for sports columnists.
Yep.
And it didn't work. It was a huge disaster. So, but now things have totally changed the way things are now. So
it's going to be fun to watch. I think the Herald, into some, I think that we'll agree that the Herald has a lot of talent. And, I think it's going to be their challenge to figure out what to do with it. And if they can put it together, perhaps the Herald can reign supreme.
MVPs?
I'm going to say Rupert Murdoch.
Suck up.
I was going to say Mr. Purcell, so there you go. No, my MVP of the Herald, without question, Steve Bulpett. Longest tenured beat writer for any NBA team. The guy does a great job, and he's one of my heroes, one of my idols.
Cooch, you're
McAdam.
I'll stick with Party Line since you guys are going with. I'll stick with Karen Garigi, and I think she's awesome. Does a great job on the Patriots and has done so for a long time.
Just a nice person.
A very nice person, yes. All right, so that's the Boston Herald.